Gary Kayye, InfoComm 2014, Day 3, which is a good time to talk to Clint Hoffman. He's the VP of Marketing at Kramer. Clint and I have both been in the industry about the same amount of time, I think.
So, absolutely.
And we've had similar paths in that we've worked for manufacturers and also worked for companies, glue companies as well. First of all, impressions overall, if you even took off the Kramer badge, just impressions overall of the show.
The show has been fantastic, absolutely fantastic. We've never had a better show. So, other than saying that, it's like the traffic has been good, the quality of the attendee has been good. It just gets better every year. And
I also heard a rumor, actually, I saw on the, not even a rumor, I saw on the floor plan for next year, you guys actually have a bigger booth next year.
We do. We're going from 5,000 square feet this year to 6,000 square feet next year, which could possibly make us the third or fourth largest exhibitor at the show.
So that means obviously you're committed to the show and you believe this is definitely the place to launch Kramer every year.
Absolutely. InfoComm is our show. It is a large part of our marketing focus every single year.
So Kramer's really come a long way. I mean, in the last 10 years, Kramer's gone from like this little accessory company to really a main player in the glue market. I mean, it's what I always called it, the glue products, the stuff that takes care of the gazintas to the gazatas.
The stuff that when the customer actually when it's at its best, the customer doesn't even know they have it, because that means it's working.
Right, exactly.
Exactly right. It's not breaking down on them.
So you deserve a lot of the accolades for that, because you've kept the focus, you've kept the drive, and you've also kept the consistency there. But what product categories recently in the last, say, 5, 6, 7, 8 years have really driven your growth?
Product category-wise, it was probably scalar switchers. We were fortunate enough to come out with a scalar switcher that became kind of a staple of the marketplace for a long time. Still, there's still an evolution in that product category, and it's still ongoing, but that's allowed us to spread our wings and get into many other categories as well.
And speaking of which, getting into other product categories, right before InfoComm, you guys announced an acquisition of 50% approximately of WowVision. How's that going, and where do you see that going?
Well, it was exactly 50%, and yeah, we think that that's put us into a new segment of the market with a product and a technology that we think is a winning technology for that segment, and it's just going to give us the ability to continue to grow. The market changes, and you have to change with it. Yesterday's stuff that you might be the leader in might not be what's going to be in the future. It's hard to make that break and say, you know what, I'm going to move on to this category, because when you're leading in that category, you want it to just continue.
Right, but at the same time, you didn't just, I would assume that this was a lot more calculated than that, and you didn't just say, well, this is our way to get into wireless transmission of rooms and huddle rooms, that kind of stuff. You must have had a little bit more calculated plan than that.
Indeed, you want to be a complete end-to-end solution supplier. That's what makes you a big company in this particular industry. If you can offer everything end-to-end, so that there's one-stop shopping for the integrator, which is particularly important in the digital, after the digital sunrise, by the way. Right. When it was analog, you could plug everybody's stuff in everybody else's stuff, and it worked. Now in digital, Kramer's not a standard. Other manufacturers in the industry are not a standard. You start plugging other people's digital products, it might not work.
And people are seeing that even still in the analog world, and even before the digital world with the HD-based-T,
right,
where even HD-based-T equipment that's labeled HD-based-T isn't even compatible with each other. So that's going to make a complicated, even more complicated as we get into digital. And then we go to 4K.
Right.
And by the way, congratulations, your cable won that 4K cable shootout, which that's a big issue with 4K, because with 4K, driving signals longer than 30 or 40 feet becomes a giant issue.
Indeed, it absolutely does. We're very proud of how our cable performs, and 4K is coming. I think 4K is a little bit of a cart and horse issue right now, but
it's going to come either way. I mean, it's going to be driven from the consumer market.
It's coming. But if you walk around the show, you almost think it's here today, and quite frankly, it's not.
But if you're putting in a room, and you're putting in a meeting room, why would you not go ahead and put in future-proof equipment? Why would you put in 2K equipment if you know that you're going to put in a 4K display sometime in the next 3 or 4 years?
Well, absolutely true. I mean, but that's been the same thing in our market forever and ever. You always are future-proofing. We've been talking about future-proofing.
In this case, future-proof, sorry to interrupt you, in this case, our future-proofing has always been like 10 years future-proofing, but now we're talking about literally 2 years. I mean, in 2 years, they're saying the 50% of the consumer displays potentially would be 4K. That's a very fast transition point. That means you're future-proofing now isn't to say that we're future-proofing 10 years from now. You're to future-proof something, you're going to have to future-proof something for just 2 years from now.
Well, true, but also consider the fact that sometimes things. I'm not saying that 4K is a fad per se, but I'm saying that the content, the bandwidth to carry these things, the networks that it's going to have to be put over. Yeah, people are buying the displays today because they're available. But when is the actual content going to be available? You're thinking it's 2 years because that's when the majority of the people are going to have 4K displays. They're buying them like crazy right now, but that doesn't mean the content's coming in 2 years.
And I think that depends on the application. I mean, I think if you're a sports bar and you're a restaurant, the content's going to be there real quickly. Higher education, and you're in the chemistry department, the biology department, stuff like that, 4K is going to be used. But you're right. In other applications,
there's a balance. That's all I'm talking about.
Yeah, I agree with you. Last question: if I were coming to InfoComm 5 years from now, what's going to be different about Kramer? Where are we going to see this different?
I think that I personally think that the biggest change is going to be in control. Control has historically been a very expensive, hardware-centric, dedicated touch panel controls that cost a lot of money, programmers that's specific to a particular. I think control is going to get more simple again, and I think it's going to go BYOD based. So I think that if you came back in 5 years, you'd see that Kramer had a big presence in the control market from a very simple but sophisticated approach at a very economical level.
I tend to agree with you, and I think my vision for the way I think control needs to work is that you walk in the room with a phone, you walk in the room with a tablet or your laptop, and it says, what do you want to do? And then it just does it. And how it happens behind the scenes, sort of like what you said with the glue companies, it just happens. And we don't really know how that user interface got there. We don't have to intentionally launch that user interface. It knows that we're in the room, so therefore it knows we want to do something, and so therefore it asks us what we want to do.
Indeed, intuitive is the thing. And we talked about it earlier in the conversation. It's the evolution of the marketplace. And simple control. We keep having guests that want to join our conversation. Have you noticed that? Okay. I lost my train of thought with the last one. Sorry about that.
I'm just trying to make sure they don't walk in front of us here.
Indeed. He just threw me off completely. I saw him coming from a distance.
What you were saying is we talked about it from the very beginning, simplicity and making things more natural. And you're saying the same thing applies on control.
My point was going to be systems. Yeah. You asked earlier in the conversation, Kramer's getting to be more and more of an end-to-end solution provider. Control has always been that single piece that distinguished a seller of systems from a seller of boxes. And I think that 5 years from now, you'll see Kramer has a very strong control presence, because that's going to continue the evolution of us becoming a full systems provider and end-to-end solution provider.
I agree with you. I do agree with you on that. And I think that it'll be real interesting to kind of watch, because you've got the big behemoths. You got the Kramer or the Crestron and AMXs who have diversified out of control, but they still manage and maintain and are dominating the control market. It'll be interesting to see how they change, because it's in their best interest not to change it too much, because that's where they make all their money.
Which goes back to the other point. When you're the leader in a particular category, you don't really want to see that category change. Human nature. You want to continue to lead that category rather than innovate into a new area and say, you know what, I'm just going to give up being number one over here, because I think it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing for a company to do.
Yeah, I think that the companies that are the entrance of the hall will be different 5 years from today than they are now.
Yeah, indeed. I used to work for a large projector manufacturer that owned this.
Like way down here now.
I know. They owned the CRT projector marketplace. When LCDs came along, they did not want to move it because they wanted to continue to be the kings of CRT. CRT went away, and they said, but they were able to catch up pretty quickly. But that was,
they're still down there.
Yeah,
they're not even in the entrance anymore. But they're making a comeback. They're making a comeback.
Great.
It's interesting. You mentioned. I mean, we didn't want to say the name, but Sony. I mean, you look at the sales, and like you look at the market share, and like for example, digital signage, they don't even show up in the top 5. It's amazing. I mean, here's this company that dominated display for so many years, and they're not even showing up in the top 5.
I had a wonderful time there, and I loved that company. I still like that company a lot. But companies go through evolutions, and sometimes everything in the world is like analog. It's waves, and the economy, the companies, it comes and it goes.
Well, look, if you want more information on Kramer, obviously go to Kramer. Is it
www.kramerus.com?
US.com, yeah, kramerus.com. And of course, Kramer, as you know, makes glue products, everything that you don't see and you hope you never see, because that means it hadn't broken down.
It's working, yeah.
So thanks, Clint. Thanks for your time.
It's a pleasure, as always.
And congratulations, and I guess we'll see you a little further towards the front if they're going to give you a bigger booth next year.
Indeed.
And so congratulations, and we're going to keep making our way around the show floor and talking to people that matter and seeing the products that matter. We did shoot product videos on all the new products launched here at InfoComm 2014 in the Kramer booth. All you got to do is go to the top right-hand corner of the video search window and type in Kramer, Kramer, and you'll be able to see all those videos. Thanks for watching.